Last time I spoke, you could hear a thumping happening, and we were trying to figure out what it was, and it was my heartbeat. So today, hopefully, you can't hear it, because Lolly told me where my heart is, because I had it on the wrong side, even though Sharina gave me that tip. So anyways, it's been a roller coaster, guys. I don't know what I'm doing. Can I maybe turn it down a little? Okay. Hello? Test, test. Is that good? Everybody can hear me? Awesome. Okay. So today we are talking about conflict, and I wanted to start out by talking about my wedding night. No, not that part of the wedding night. That would be a little uncomfortable today, but I wanted to talk about right after Nick and I left our reception hall. We got in the car, and we were driving about an hour to Chicago and to our hotel. We were all excited. We're 18 and 19 years old. We're like, oh my gosh, we just got married. And then we pulled out the MapQuest directions because we didn't have smartphones at the time. And I was the navigator, and Nick was the driver. And if you've ever been in that position, you know where this went. I was not the best navigator, or Nick wasn't the best driver. I don't know which one happened, but we got into quite a fight on the night of our wedding. Right after we got married, we're so excited, and there we were yelling at each other in the car, right away. So that was a great start to marriage. I felt like, you get married, you think, oh, everything's going to be great, at least for like a week. You got the honeymoon, right? And unfortunately, that was not the case. We did reconcile. Everything's okay now. We have Apple CarPlay, which I cannot recommend enough. Plug for that. But a lot less fights in our marriage ever since we got smartphones. It's been a lot better. But I also wanted to let you guys know, I know sometimes you can kind of have this idea of people like pastors, whatever, that they're perfect, their marriage is perfect. And I doubt anyone in this room thinks this, but just in case you do, I wanted to share some of Nick and I's most common fights today. I will share them unbiasedly, maybe. You can guess which side is right and which side is wrong, which side is Nick's and which side is mine, okay? The first one is how often to run the dishwasher. So one of us in the family likes to run the dishwasher when it is about 25% full, likes to kill trees, and likes to ruin the environment. And the other person likes to fill it up to the brim as full as possible. And so we don't waste water, and we can live on this earth longer. Okay, that's just one example. Another fight that we often have, we do Airbnb out of our house, and so one person likes to have the TV up really, really loud, doesn't care about anybody else's needs but their own, and the other person will put the subtitles on and put it at like level 5, like can't hear anything, because they are very conscientious of the other people in the house. Another one that we often have, I don't think you guys are going to be able to guess on this one, is if Albert is allowed to sleep on the bed or not. Albert is our dog. And when he's snoring, that can also cause some tension as well. One of us in the relationship has lost that fight since, I think, year 1 of having Albert. So that fight is clearly won at this point. Another more serious one is if buying something is worth it. So Nick talked about finances. That was last week. And we talked through that. And so with that, it's like, well, is a shirt worth it? Or we've recently gotten to rental property investing. And so is this house worth it? Like, how do you make that decision? And that can create some tension as well. Another one is that when we drive back to Kenosha, like how often we should do that. That's where we're originally from. How often we should take that drive with gas money, the time that it takes. So those are just some common things that kind of we go at it sometimes. Sometimes it just happens when we're crabby, and all of a sudden one little thing can kind of turn into a big thing. I think we've all been there. So one thing that I found really interesting, I'm going to bring this over here. One thing that I found really interesting when I was looking into conflict and relationships and everything is that 69% of problems are unsolvable in relationships. It's a really great way to start a conflict talk. So with that, it's talking about like long-standing issues like personality things that you just can't change, like things like how to spend money or save money, how much a box of cereal is worth or not, those types of things. You're never going to change it. And so instead of trying to avoid the conflict, you have to, or try to eliminate it, you have to learn to manage the conflict. So that was Dr. John Gottman's research, if you're wondering. So I thought that was very interesting that we are always, I, for one, try to eliminate the conflict. I don't want to fight. I don't want to do anything like that. But in the end, it's impossible to completely get rid of conflict, right? So another thing I wanted to say is that today I'm talking about my marriage and stuff, but this stuff we're talking about today, the verses that we're referencing, none of them in the context of the Bible have anything to do with marriage. They're just about relationships. They're just about church. So just keep that in mind. These can apply to anything, whether you're married, single, whether you have issues with your spouse or you have issues with a friend. All of these things are very helpful when we're trying to work through conflict, okay? So let's get it started. I came up with some rhymes because I thought conflict was kind of a more sensitive topic and I wanted to make it more fun, if that's possible. So the first one is don't let it fester all semester. Don't let it fester all semester. Can we all say that? Don't let it fester all semester. Awesome. So this one is about going to your spouse, going to your partner, going to your friend very quickly, not wasting time, just festering on it, right? So Ephesians 4:26 says, "And don't sin by letting anger control you. Don't let the sun go down while you are still angry." That is a tough one. If you've been around the church at all, you've probably heard that one. And if you ever go to bed angry, you probably think about this first. I do. Matthew 5 says, "If you're standing before the altar in the temple, giving an offering to God, and suddenly remember that someone has something against you, leave your offering there beside the altar. Go at once and first be reconciled to that person, then come and offer your gift." So this is talking about the temple, but I think we could apply it to the church. If I came in today and I had something against someone, I should go and try to fix that first before worshiping, before being in the presence of God. That can be a tough one sometimes, especially if you get into a fight on the way to church. Matthew 18, "If your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault just between the two of you. If they listen to you, you have won them over. But if they will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses." This is Matthew 18. This one is tough because we're like, okay, well, what happens if there's abuse and things like that? I do think there's exceptions to this. But in general, this is a very good thing to do. So the main gist of all these different verses is basically let's talk to the person we're angry with instead of talking to somebody else about it, which is a lot harder. It's a lot easier to call your mom and complain about your boyfriend than it is to talk to your boyfriend about it, right? It's a lot easier to talk to your best friend. It's a lot easier to just let it fester, just thinking about it and just getting angry over and over and over again about how you're right. But in the end, that does nothing. So what do you do? What do you do when you have this conflict and you're not sure what to do about it? We're going to go over some tools today that I learned from a curriculum called Prepare and Enrich. It's a thing that Nick and I are both registered or certified in. We're not counselors, obviously, but we've been certified in this training, and it's been very helpful, even for us personally, when we get to a point that we're like, I don't know how to solve this. Like, you just keep going at it. You're like, I don't know. This is some tools today that we're going to go over. The first one, it's actually my favorite, is the 10 solutions list. So what this does is it makes it so that it's you two against the problem instead of just you against each other constantly, because sometimes that can happen. Like, you just want to be right. But this one will help you be like, no, we can solve this together. We're going to look at this problem. So we're going to bring this whiteboard out. Hopefully I don't, the speaker did not like that. And this is going to be more interactive. I'm going to need your guys' help with this, okay? So our problem today that we're going to work through is that one of us believes that the thermostat should be at 70 degrees year-round, and the other person thinks that we should change the thermostat based on the temperature and based on how much money we need to save. Nick is like shaking his head. He's like, yes, I am on that side. Well, we want to try to come together and figure out a solution today. So we'll put at the top, I don't want to mess up everything, temperature. This is a very common issue, right? How many of you guys have had this argument? Okay, nice. Okay, so the temperature here. So the first solution, I just said it, was keeping it at 70 degrees all year, no matter what. Okay, that's one side. 2 is change based on money, I guess. You guys get what I'm saying with that. Like, you should keep it, try to make it so that you save as much, like, don't turn on the heat unless you absolutely have to kind of thing. Like, bundle up kind of thing. So what are some other solutions, other than side A and side B, that we could have happen here, okay? And it can be the most outlandish thing. It doesn't have to be a good solution. It's just trying to, like, get our brains working. So, Lolly.
Agree on a range.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, 70 to 75.
Depending on, like, the season kind of thing? Like 75 in the summer, 70 in the winter? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Agree on a range, 70 to 75. Okay. What's another solution? Oh, we got more. Sharina. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good tip right there. And efficiency test. Wow, okay. You were ready with that one. Courtney, I think I saw your hand.
Incorporate fresh air, opening windows, fan.
Okay, fresh air. Trying to use the earth as our own temperature control. Okay. I'm going to put an outlandish one. We just don't use a thermostat because it causes so much conflict, okay? No more temperature control. That'll fix it. Okay. Mike. Okay. So turning it down when we leave. So like when you go to work, turn the, okay. That's a good one. Turn down when you leave. Okay. But what about the dog in the house? What about him? No? Okay. Kirsten.
Set the schedule on it so it goes back and forth all day.
Okay. So set the schedule. Okay.
Extra thermostat so you can zone out the house.
Ooh, okay. Extra thermostats. That's a good one. Zoning. Oh, Nick, you're going to do the final one?
You invite 20 people to live with you in the winter. In the summer, you boot them out.
Body heat. Okay. I mean. Okay, so we have our 10 solutions, okay? We'll go through which one should we just get rid of right away? Okay, so that one's done. What's another one we should get rid of? Wow. Not using the thermostat. That one. Okay. The extra thermostat. You're getting rid of that one, Nick. Oh man. No hurt feelings here, and if there is conflict in this, we can work through it after because we're talking about it, okay?
After you use these tips and tricks.
Yes. What else? The range. Oh, Lolly just got rid of her own. Good job. Okay. Everyone just called. That was a stupid idea.
70 all year.
70 all year. We're getting rid of that one. Okay. Okay. Can you see it? I know, the black marker was not working, so. Oh, so you like 8 and 4. How does everybody feel about 8 and 4?
What are they?
That one, 4 is call Ameren and seasonal suggestions, and 8 is set the schedule. Oh, so buying an Ecobee, that's what we have. Oh. So should we land on call Ameren? Okay, we'll do that for the sake of time. Okay, so we solved it, guys. Good job. All our problems are solved. This is great. What was that? All of them. Everything's solved. So do you notice while we're coming up with the solutions, we started laughing, we started having a good time. Like, it really takes the tension out of it and it's good to throw in really stupid ideas because it does make it so it's more fun, it's more you two against the problem. It's very helpful. Nick and I have used this one multiple times when we're like, I don't know what to do. And so very, very good. I really like that. Thank you for doing that with me, guys. I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, what if nobody has an ideas and I have to come up with all. Okay. The next point is if you don't fight fair, you'll pull out your hair. This is my favorite verse of the day, Proverbs 18:13. Whoever gives an answer before he listens is stupid and should be ashamed. Isn't that wonderful? So print that out, put that on your wall, like from Hobby Lobby. James 1:19 says, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. So with this one, I wasn't sure where to put this in the message, so I just decided to put it here, okay? Because we want to fight fair, or else we'll pull out our hair. And one thing that I realized a few months ago, I was talking to my therapist, and I was telling her about how somebody, it wasn't Nick, was being very sarcastic towards me, like just random comments. They're kind of sexist, to be honest with you, and I wasn't sure what to do about it. I was like, that's random, but it was like a joke. And so I was like, huh. And it was, so it was sarcasm. And what she said, she's like, yeah, that person's mad at you. Like, that's why they're being sarcastic. And I was like, what? No, sarcasm's like a sense of humor thing, you know. And then I started looking for it. And I don't know if you guys have had this realization, but when you start to look for sarcasm and look for the anger in it, you start to see it everywhere. And you even start to see it in yourself. Like, to be honest with you, I almost cut the start of this message because I realized I was being sarcastic, saying Nick and I have these two different ideas with how the TV should be or how Albert should be on the bed or all those things. I was being sarcastic because there is a little bit of anger there. Isn't that kind of uncomfortable? We'll work through it later, I promise. But start to look for sarcasm, start to look for anger, and you'll start to see it in yourself all the time. Like, I'll make jokes about somebody being late, and then I'll realize, oh, I was kind of annoyed. Like, even though I wouldn't necessarily, like, it's not worth it to bring it up, but it's just kind of checking yourself to realize, oh, there's something there. And, I mean, we all get angry, we all have that. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's good to realize when that anger is coming up, especially when it's towards our partner and we start to be really snotty or like, oh yeah, thanks a lot, you know, those types of things isn't going to be very helpful. And so for this tool, this one is called Take a Break. So I'm going to take a break right now and get some water. So this one, we all have been in a moment that a conversation all of a sudden turns really tense. We don't really know why it happened sometimes, but all of a sudden it's just like the emotions are up here, okay? So what do you do when you get to that moment? Because it'll happen if you're human, I think, and you're in relationships with other people. And so this tool is all about realizing when you need a timeout, when you need to just say, hey, let's take a break. So the first step is to recognize your need for a timeout. So here's some different things that can kind of help you check yourself. Are your fists clenched? Is your face red? Are you breathing fast. Whew. I didn't mean to do that, but I guess that was a good explanation. Are the tears streaming down your face? Do you feel like screaming or throwing something? Are you afraid of your partner's intensity? And so once we learn how to recognize these things, that can be very helpful to realize when we should take a break. But you have to learn to notice it. You can't just get to level 10 and just keep going. You got to look for it the next time you're in a tense conversation. And one thing that I found really interesting, I listened to this book called Crucial Conversations. It was an excellent book on conflict. I'd really recommend it. And it's not just about like romantic relationships, it's about everything. And they talked about silence or violence. So looking for that, and when you see that, you realize you're in a crucial conversation. So silence, pretty self-explanatory. If somebody starts to get really quiet, they just stop talking, they start staring off, you start to realize, oh, this is a tense conversation. I didn't really realize that before. Or violence, obviously there's physical violence, but there's also the hands clenched, there's the door slamming, there's the raising of the voice. And so realizing that at that point, this is a crucial conversation and maybe we need to take a break. The second part of this tool is to request the timeout. So you call a timeout by saying, hey, I think I need a break. Pretty simple, but it's realizing that you need the break and you're going to be like, hey, let's do a timeout. I kind of did this last night. We got back from, it's okay that I shared this, Nick. We got back from Tennessee yesterday. I was exhausted. And I kind of Nick's had his back issues and stuff. And so Nick was in the bedroom. I was in on the couch. And I was just like, Nick, I need a break. I just need to breathe for a second, and so I just did it a little bit. I don't even know if you noticed it, but what? You noticed it. I just said, do you need anything else? And then I went and took a break, and now I'm happy, Got to watch some Golden Bachelor. It was a good time. Okay, so, but then Albert went to Nick, and I was very upset. So me and Albert have some conflict to work through now. Anyways, so requesting the timeout. Then you take a moment, you relax and calm down. So go for a walk, maybe breathe in, breathe out, do some meditation, pray, ask God what to do, give you a perspective that you didn't have before, trying to understand your partner. The fourth step is remember what's important. So remember, I think of this is just a fake scenario, but let's say you're looking at a house and you're like, hey, my partner wants to move. I don't want to move, okay? As I'm saying that, I'm realizing this is an actual conflict that Nick and I have had, so it's not pretend. But and the moment you can realize, hey, why doesn't he care about what I want? You start to go into that. My side is better. But then if you take a step back, you're like, oh, no, he cares about the money that we're going to make off of this that will provide for our family. So that, he wants us to have a good place to live. Taking a step back and realizing his heart in it is a good tool to do. And to remember, let's say it's an issue with a kid. Maybe they want you, or they want your kid to, take soccer lessons or something, and you don't want to do it. You don't want to spend the money. You can take a step back and be like, oh, they want our kid to become a soccer star or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Taking a step back and realizing what's important. And then finally, this is the most important, is resuming the conversation. So being brave enough to go back in and be like, okay, we both had an hour. Let's do this. Let's talk through this. And maybe that's when you use the 10 solutions list. But remembering to go back to the conversation. I think it's really important at the first step, I forgot to say this, is that it says request the timeout. That doesn't mean just leaving. That doesn't mean just I'm out, I'm done, I can't handle you. That's not requesting a break. I mean, I guess it kind of is, but it's not the most healthy version of that. So I don't recommend you just leaving and not telling your partner when you'll be back. That's not going to help anybody. So, what? Sorry. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. That was not intentional. I'm glad I went back to that then. Okay. The third one is forgive and repent to the full extent. Let's say that one together. Forgive and repent to the full extent. Oh, okay. Let's get into it. Ephesians 4:32 says, instead, be kind to each other, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as God through Christ forgave you. Be gentle with one another and sensitive. Forgive one another as quickly and thoroughly as God in Christ forgave you. Oof, that verse is tough. Colossians 3:8 says, you must rid yourself of all such things such as anger, rage, malice, slander, and filthy language from your lips. Whew. See, those verses are really heavy. The Ephesians one especially, forgive one another as quickly and thoroughly as God in Christ forgave you. Because so often we want to hold on to things, right? We want to just prove that we're right. And then we're just mad and we're just angry and we want to just make sure that they know what they did to us. And that can be really hard. And if I'm honest with you guys, I'm in a season right now. I shared back a few months ago, the last time I preached in therapy and theology, about how I'm working through just a history of abuse and stuff like that. Not with Nick, obviously. And so I am still working through this, if I'm honest with you. I haven't fully forgiven. And so that's something that's kind of hard because I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to preach on this. But I think it's good to be honest and it's good to realize, okay, forgiveness sometimes doesn't happen right away. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you can let things go. But then other times it does take some time and it takes some therapy and it takes some understanding, some reading of some books and some steps. So today I have these things. Godfrey, could you hand those out for me here? Pass it around, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great, thank you. And so these are the different steps for seeking forgiveness and granting forgiveness. So I thought these were really, okay, we can read that, okay. Really helpful for when there's a conflict that you're just like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm really angry. I wanted to print this out and give it to you so that you can put it in your car or whatever, your purse, and have it with you for the next time you're having that conflict and you're not really sure what to do about it. So I don't think we should just let things go if they're very painful. I think you need to work through them. It's not going to just happen just because you put a smile on your face. And so we're gonna go through this. So the 6 steps for seeking forgiveness is admit what you did was wrong or hurtful. Try to understand and empathize with the pain you have caused. Take responsibility for your actions and make restitution if necessary. Assure your partner you will not do it again, and apologize and ask for forgiveness, and then finally forgive yourself. And then for the second step of granting forgiveness, acknowledge your pain. Thank you, Carrie. Pain and anger. Allow yourself to feel disrespected. Acknowledge that this hurt, that this was a painful thing that happened to you. Be specific about your future expectations and limits. Give up your right to get even, but insist on being treated better in the future. Let go of blame, resentment, negativity towards your partner. Communicate your act of forgiveness to your partner, and then work towards reconciliation when safe. So I did want to mention, whenever conflict is brought up, obviously you think of really epic conflict. You think of yelling, you think of screaming. You might even start to think of abuse. And so I just want to be very clear here that if it's abuse, I think the Matthew 18 passage of going to your partner might not be the best idea. I think it would be better to talk to a friend or a family member and get to a place safe to get away from that situation. So if that's you today, please talk to somebody. You can talk to myself. You can talk to Nick. We'd love to be there for you, but I just wanted to mention that just in case anyone was in that situation today. I'd also encourage you to go to counseling, go to marriage counseling and work through those things. Nick and I went to marriage counseling, I think it was year 7 or 8 of our marriage, which is one of the toughest years, I think statistically. And it was very, very, very helpful. And I was terrified to do it. It was not something I wanted to do. I felt a lot of shame in it, but it was the best thing we could possibly do. So please understand that it is scary.